scarcity, like good girls don't ask for money. I don't want to be too bold. I don't want to come off as salesy.
So today I've got a beautiful guest speaker with me, which is Sheridan, and she's an integrative somatic coach who helps entrepreneurs and visionaries to transform stress into clarity, confidence, and pleasure. Combining modern neuroscience with somatic tools, she empowers people to align with their nervous system, tap into embodied wisdom, and create impact with ease and joy. And her work inspires individuals to turn challenges into opportunities for deeper connection and authentic expression. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about buddy things and pleasure things and maybe some money things even. I don't know where we'll end up.
We usually ask our guest speakers a couple of starter questions so we can get to know you. Where are you currently at on your own pleasure journey?
Oof. At the risk of sounding a little bit arrogant, it's so awful. I listened to a podcast yesterday. I was like, oh, I'll listen to a podcast. I'm at this place where, being very transparent, there's so much pleasure that a part of me that is older, younger, the one that was a decade ago, is in a lot of disbelief around how much pleasure can be at life. And it's both incredibly empowering and exciting, and also for like those really deep, tender parts of me, a little bit confusing, and they're a bit sad that they didn't experience this earlier.
I can relate to that. There's a trend going around, have coffee with your younger self at the moment.
Yeah.
It's interesting to read, but so many actually say how much they have transformed and changed in that period of time, and that they wish they would have known all of that years ago.
Yeah.
What is something that brings you a lot of pleasure?
Relationships. They're everything. Relationships, connections, when you have those little moments with people where you see something deep inside of them that they hadn't seen in themselves, that is extremely pleasurable for me, whether it's in a coaching situation, you see them have a breakthrough, or I was talking around the campfire with my friend's partner, and we were talking about love and how you create it, and that was just an amazing moment. Or last night in bed with my partner, and he just like had this incredibly he just did something that surprised me in a really tender way. It was my birthday soon, and he did something, and I was like, oh wow, like you see me, you're excited, and little moments like that, and those little moments of connection with people.
Yes, love that. Connection is a huge part of pleasure. So when we talk about business, because I'm such an example for that, I've started my business out of, I want to help people. And it was really like I was in the flow and creative to a point where it got to do, very much in my masculine. And I started to skip like workouts. I'm going to do that later because I need to get things done. I want to, reach certain milestones. And then before I know it, I've realized it reduced my pleasure experience. And actually my sales went down as well. And then for a moment I looked at it and I'm like, hang on a second, what am I doing here? I'm not enjoying myself. So I flipped the script and I took priority of myself again, did my workouts, went for my walks, and started to infuse pleasure in all areas of my life again. Did less work, sales went up again. So I've done that experience. So I know how important it is, the work that you do, to help others experience pleasure and actually approach things from more of like a pleasure perspective than, we need to work, do. And I was wondering if we could chat about sales specifically, because I work in the pleasure industry and I connect with a lot of people in that industry as well. And I help and mentor others, especially ones who want to become pleasure toy reviewers, because I've gone through all of that. And they feel sometimes like, oh, everything's great, but when it comes to selling my stuff, it just gives me anxiety, or like it just feels awkward, feels off. How can I make that a more pleasurable experience? So what is like your embodied approach to sales? What does that look like compared to like a traditional sales method, for example?
Okay. There are three ways that we can go with this. I'm just writing them down because otherwise I'm going to forget them. 1 second. Okay. There are three ways to go about this. You can tell me which one feels exciting to go into completely or first. We may be able to get to all of them. The first one is shame. So I taught a program called Shameless Sales. It's currently available, where we actually alleviate and we take shame out. A lot of the reason that people feel difficulty around sales is because there's a difficulty receiving or being confident about yourself. And a lot of the underlying part of that is shame. So when we develop the body capacity to confidently speak about what it is that we want to receive, and we kind of heal a lot of that, scarcity, like good girls don't ask for money. I don't want to be too bold. I don't want to come off as salesy. That ickiness that we sometimes feel or perceive from others, sales becomes just very much a conversation. The other part sounds like what you did, which is what we would call regulating. So bringing yourself back to a pleasureful state. And you can use that by just looking for pleasure more often. This brings me pleasure. That brings me pleasure. That type of sale brings me pleasure. I'm sitting here with a blanket and that's making this conversation more pleasurable. So it's just pleasure, 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 pleasure on top of pleasure. Or we can get kinky. We can get like a little bit kinky. And we can go to a practice that would be inspired by existential kink, which is a really wonderful practice where we can actually look at that anxiety and in the same way that you would in a kink setting, okay, well, if it's uncomfortable until I consent to it and I get excited about it. And there's and we can actually kind of explore, okay, well, I feel anxiety in my chest, but like, am I embarrassed? Am I worried that I'm going to be embarrassed? Like, am I kind of turned on being humiliated, and kind of like play with that a little bit? Where would you like to go?
So first of all, like the second approach is like really something that I've gone through, and that's something that I basically do as well and inspire and empower others. The third one, Existential Kink, is a book that I've just finished reading a couple weeks ago. I don't know where I'm at with that.
Tell me, yeah.
It was an interesting book because it was just different, like written, not what I was expected as a kinky person as well. But then
Yeah.
I totally got it, what she's meant. I'm not so sure if everyone can relate to it because it's definitely something to tap more in your shadow, your darkness. But I think we should approach that. Like, I think that's a good one to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with basic idea of what it is.
Yeah.
Existential Kink, for everyone who hasn't read it, is a book I would recommend for a lot of people. It's written by Carolyn Elliott, and it essentially has this understanding that there is a part of us that enjoys our self-sabotaging patterns through the sensations that it creates inside of us. So it's under the fundamental understanding that sensation occurs in the body and that our mind perceives it as good or bad and labels it. However, there is nothing that is inherently good or bad. There's comfortable and uncomfortable, and we have control over that. So even though we might consciously avoid something, or we might feel discomfort around something. For example, I hate feeling rejected, so I try to avoid being rejected. There is an unconscious part of us, like a shadow part, that actually does enjoy being rejected. And if you look at kind of the fundamental laws of life, is that where there is darkness, there is light. So wherever you enjoy something, it would make sense, quantum physics, that you would not like it, or there would be a part of you that doesn't like it and a part of you that does. So existential kink is kind of empowering you to come back to that. I'm a trauma therapist though. So for me, what I see in individuals is that when we have a lot of emotional charge around a trauma and it's an injustice that like was not supposed to happen, so your fear of rejection maybe is stemming from a time where you were very like much bullied by somebody very important to you, maybe your cousin, or there was a lot of criticism that came from your mom. That wound inside is going to be too emotionally charged for us to gain pleasure from it until we do the trauma healing. I came to existential kink because I did the trauma healing, mastered it, teach it, do it all the time. And I still noticed like a little pieces. And I was like, I think I was just curious. I was like, well, I could keep trauma healing this thing. Or I could like try this approach, and both work at different times depending on how I'm feeling basically, and what my needs are. So yeah, do you have any questions going off of that, or do you want to go anywhere
No,
else
that's
with it?
fine. That's exactly what I've got from the book as well. So you shouldn't be trying to do it when you are like still grieving or when you're still into like too much of actually feeling the feelings, but rather when you've already looked at all of that, and then you can actually approach it into like more of a, now I'm getting off on that feeling. And then once I do find that pleasure, I can actually like, okay, now I can put it aside and I can actually change it. So she kind of like talked about the manifestation as well, just in a kind of slightly different approach. But yeah, this is what I've got out of that as well. So it is an approach. I don't think it works like for everyone, or, and also not at the same time, but it's definitely something that you
Yeah.
can try.
But what's empowering about it, and what is the foundation of what I
Mm.
teach, independent of if you go kinky with it or pleasureful with it,
Yeah.
is what is the feedback that my body is giving me? What is the sensation inside? And we have different tools that help us kind of zoom out from that sensation and instead provide what it needs. Like there was a time when I would go into sales calls, and I had money. I was earning really well. I don't know why, but at the end of the call, it would just get weird. Like they would be like, yeah, okay, I can't remember. I would be really nervous at the end, and I would like try to like say the right thing. And sometimes it was like, do I follow up with them? Do I ask them for the payment now? What do we do? And I would like get really in my head, and then I would just like lean forward and start speaking really quickly, or I would make the call go really long. It was weird. I was weird about it. It was just odd. And I would always walk away with anxiety. And then I would notice this feeling inside. And so I went into it, and I kind of like, used all the tools and go back, all the stuff that I teach, and go back. And I found that there was a part of me, there was a memory that was being triggered. And it was from this little girl inside. And my background is that I come from a single mother who was financially quite disadvantaged and disabled. And so we had a lot of scarcity, and my ancestors also had a lot of scarcity. And so there was a small part of me that remembers, standing in line at the food bank type thing, not knowing when food would come. And quite literally, it sounds absurd, but she would be on that call with me, and she would be like, well, her story was, if I don't sign this client, how will I know that I get food? It doesn't logically make any sense. I had so much money in the bank, but she didn't know that. And so the healing method that I did was every day that I did a sales call, I would light a candle, I would put my hand on my heart, I would check in with her, and I would say, I'm never, ever, ever going to let you be in a position where we don't have food. And I would eat my food with her.
Yeah.
And I would also, like, at the time I was doing boxing. So sometimes I would boxing, and I would kind of be like, this is me kind of like, I'm always going to protect you. And really mothering that child inside of me that hadn't grown up to understand that even though we had scarcity then, we don't have that now. That's just not the situation. And I did that for, to be honest, a couple of months. It kind of became almost like just like a pattern. And then I forgot one day. And I forgot many days. And then I kind of checked in. I was like, oh, I don't do that anymore. And it wasn't necessary. And the sales, ironically, I was making the same amount of money. It wasn't one of those situations where like my income went up heaps. I made the money. It was the same thing. But my calls were shorter. They were clearer. I felt more confident on them. They were more fun. And I had better relationships with my clients for the entire time that we were working together.
That's so beautiful, because not always is it related to the money, but also to how you approach things. Then, like the opportunities that open up that might not directly are sales related, but like you said, the deeper connections to your clients, who maybe then also do some more testimony, and your client
Yeah.
eventually grows.
Work with them like literally for 4 years in different aspects of their
Yeah,
life.
you
Yeah.
feel more confident in it, and or just everything is feeling more pleasurable. Like you've got more time because the sales calls are shorter. You're not stressing and worrying. You've actually got the energy to do something else and have quality time with your family. Like it's not always sales related, but it can have so much more positive impact. And I love the connection actually from the existential kink that we've just done is basically the somatic practices approach, because in this existential kink, even though if you don't like the idea of getting off on um, the bad thing that's happening to you, it is actually about tuning into your body and feeling where's the sensation. So it's actually a somatic practice, and you can
Yeah.
turn that around to other somatic practices, or like you've also done rituals, which are also so beautiful. And with your inner child, or like the previous past, it's just like, oh, all combined. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's also coming back, and I think this is also what you've done is like you were just like, okay, what do I need? What do I need to make this experience more pleasurable? In that moment, you needed pleasure in little days. You needed to go and do your workout, and I needed like a real tender, loving guidance. And then later I just needed like some fun. And so it's like, what does your body need? And developing the skill to identify that and listen to it and the confidence to act on it.
Yeah, that's a lot of self-awareness and checking in with yourself. For me personally, it's like the workouts, the nourishing food, the good connections that I have with the people around me. All of that fuels that I'm just a better version of myself. And when I'm a better version of
Mm,
myself, I'm not worrying or stress or trigger that past version of myself too. I'm a single mom too, and I came here from Germany.
mm,
No family connections, no government support because I wasn't a permanent resident. Single mom with two young
mm.
kids. I was standing in the food bank as well. And, I had
Interesting.
care packages I got weekly from the ladies, and I had a really close connection with. But um, stepping from that to now being able to, afford a 3-bedroom townhouse all by myself with the current market, still putting food on the table and actually living a good life for my children and with my children. But yeah, I've
Yeah.
got these moments sometimes too. But mostly thinking back, wow, I'm not gonna let that happen again. Like I'm working towards making it not just income stable, but also pleasurable. You are functioning, but you aren't feeling. You hold it all together. Your life, career, motherhood, relationships, and you keep pushing through. You keep managing, doing one thing and another thing, people pleasing, alive on autopilot. And underneath all of it, you ask yourself, is that really it? Is that what's life supposed to be? Your mind rarely stops. You keep overthinking. Your sleep is broken. Your digestion is off. And rest makes you feeling uncomfortable. That is your nervous system stuck in survival state. Your body has forgotten how to feel safe, how to soften, how to receive, how to feel good. And what's missing is not more effort. What's missing is pleasure, somatic pleasure. I am Patricia, an ED/DV survivor, a former nurse, mother, a pleasure explorer, and an award-winning educator in somatic pleasure. I am the founder of Pleasurelit. My trauma-informed somatic pleasure approach blends nervous system regulation, tantra, sexuality, breathwork, yoga, meditation, identity shift, and feminine embodiment. And if this sparked something inside of you, join us within the Pleasurelit Woman program, which is my 8-week group program, helping you from functioning to feeling radiant, regulated, and deliciously turned on. You're also invited to join us within the Pleasurelit Circle, which is my online community membership for women, where we have got live calls, somatic practices, resources, masterclasses, and so much more. You can also explore my self-paced online courses all around pleasure and follow along Patricia's Pleasure ad for more pleasure tips, and if you like to submit your questions. When you prefer reading, you can get my #1 bestseller book, The Pleasurelit Way. And if you like more personalized support, book yourself in for a one-on-one coaching session. For more details and how to join it all, go to pleasurelit.com. Is there a certain somatic practice that you could recommend or suggest for someone who's now an entrepreneur and really feels like this anxiety before a sales call or before a client call?
The first thing we need to do is feel it in the body. So it's identifying what is the specific sensation. What's the temperature? Where does it sit? Does it change? Does it move? How do I feel towards it? Like, I wrote a book, it launched yesterday.
Exciting. Take a moment for that.
Yeah. So here, oh my God, I can do this. Wait, let's do this properly.
Yes.
So here in my book, in chapter,
what's the book called?
It's called Somatic Intelligence for Success. So it's about identifying basically how you can make success a success for you in a way that using your nervous system's intelligence so that you can be happy. Let's just be honest. And like that's having money as well. What we do is we have something called the self. The self is the part of you that is really healing and that is really regulating. And it's also the part of you that sales is very easy because sales is a transaction. It's just two people connecting. One person has a problem. The other person has a solution. There's some type of payment. When you are in self, that dance is very easy. The reason we have anxiety, though, is because a part of us has a discomfort around that transaction. And it could be for so many different reasons. Your body could be telling you that it thinks that you're not worthy of money, but it could also be telling you that it doesn't think that this is the correct product on the market, right? Like it could say, this is not something that I want to sell. For some reason, I think it could be better. What we want to do is learn to understand that. So my first somatic practice is actually to identify what that feels like for you, what you would call the self. It's like this state of being. And I'm just going to see if I can find it. It's the part of you that we access when we access regulated nervous system. So when you exercise, you're accessing that because you're moving different types of endorphins through your body. So it helps you access that really calm state. When you're hanging out with your friends or you have a really good cry, we also have that experience. We experience this self because the self is, here we go, chapter 6. I'm going to read the states of it. So think of things that make you feel this way. And then the somatic practice is to think of things that make you feel this way, choose a practice that helps you feel this way. And then from that state, look at your anxiety from a different lens. Am I being clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read them. So page 101, beingness, being. Pleasure helps us be. Harmony, so feeling harmony, like there's different conflicting avenues inside, but I've had harmony with them. Purity, this is a word that some people find difficult, but my definition of it is just feeling like you are really didn't connect it to yourself and you're free of outside influences. So a lot of people get this through spending time alone and kind of sorting through different people's perspectives in their life, journaling, things like that. Constructive, so it's uplifting when you feel positive. Virtuous, also very conflicting for some people, but I mean, you're guided by your values. You're guided by your ethics, your morals, what you want to see in the world. You feel like, oh, this is what I care about. Consciousness, so being present with yourself. Compassion, having compassion for yourself and others. Confidence, creativity, connectedness, so knowing that we're all connected in some way. Calmness, steadiness, embodiment, being in your body. Curiosity, perspective, seeing things from different angles. A lot of people get this through travel or through mind-altering substances. Purpose, having a meaning in life. Power, feeling that you have the ability to create change in your environment. Possibility, being open. And relaxed muscles and deep breath. So the somatic practice is to take one of those things, whichever came out to you, and just return to it. So it's like, what makes me feel relaxed? What makes me feel calm? How do I cultivate more of that in my life? And then I would get curious about the anxiety. And you can use the other different, like, we have actual protocols on what to use in and the questions you can ask yourself. But if you can find a somatic way to one of those qualities, the way you think about your anxiety in sales is going to be different. And you're going to learn what that somatic feedback in your body is trying to tell you instead of just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. So basically, getting an awareness of it first to explore it, being curious, being open. So what is it actually, and where does it sit? How does it move? What am I feeling? What's going on? And then according to that, you can choose how you can actually help your nervous system to actually, dance with it, approach it, rather than, just pushing it away.
Yeah, because don't you find that a lot of the coaching or personal development or therapeutic spaces get rid of anxiety instead of, oh, what can I learn about myself through this experience in my body, which is pleasure as well. What am I learning about how I experience the world through the sensations in my body?
Yes, this is where self-growth happen. So the magic happens when you actually step into that uncomfortable feeling and actually be curious and open-minded, explore it. And then, like you just said, instead of, like the same as darkness and our shadow side, instead of, nah, they're not there. I'm not gonna, denying it or suppressing it, to actually explore it, to actually play with it, to actually embrace it to a certain degree, where you can say, I know that is a part of me, and I have got these and these moments where I can actually let it out and use it to actually have some pleasure out of it. Is there anything else that you could suggest someone who wants to start exploring somatic practices for their business?
Resources, I would say my book. The first place is, I would recommend reading my book, but first get curious about how your body is responding to your business. What are you procrastinating? That's a sign. It's a sign that maybe you need to be better with boredom. You need to be okay with boredom. A lot of us who are entrepreneurs dislike boredom, but it is helpful, and we can develop our capacity to be with boredom. Or what are you procrastinating? I guess that's where we want to start. What are you procrastinating because your body knows that it will lead to bigger results? And maybe what you need to do is expand your capacity to be seen and to be paid well.
Where can people find you? So we've got the book. It's available on Amazon.
Yeah, yep. You can just search Sheridan Ruth on Amazon, and I think that's a good way to find me as well. So underscore at underscore Sheridan Ruth underscore will be my Instagram. You can find the book on Amazon by searching Sheridan Ruth Somatic Intelligence for Success. You can also find my website, which will have a lot of different different PDF downloads and things like that on learning about the different states of your nervous system through sheridanruth.com.
Do you have a favorite pleasure product, item, something that, I don't know, if you wear it, use it, something that brings you a lot of pleasure?
Coconut oil.
Oh,
Does that count?
yeah. Anything counts.
Yeah.
I had the best answers so far. A mirror, like sunshine, like the best answers, and it just brings it back to how simple it sometimes can be, just having one little thing that can bring a lot of pleasure. So
Yeah, I would say coconut oil, like blathering that on my body and
yeah.
just like and it's nice to just be in your body and hydrate yourself in that
Do
way.
you have a specific coconut oil, or is it just?
I don't know, I got one. I got a really big one a while ago.
Yeah,
And I've
big
just been
one.
using that. Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes I like to put it with a bit of essential oil. So
Yeah.
like a lavender, if it's in the evening, just like drop a few drops in,
Wow.
and like an orange or like I have a tangerine oil that's really nice, grapefruit oil that's really nice in the morning, and particularly in the winter, I'll put that on my body. And it's really regulating way to be in the
Nice.
body. It's really nice.
I
Yeah.
can already feel it.
It's really good. I'm actually like thinking, well, should I do that tonight? Yeah. I think I should do that tonight. Yeah.
It's very helpful. I had someone at the podcast a while ago, and we came up with the idea of writing a pleasure list. So, and then
Mm.
categorize that, which is probably something similar to your list of somatic practices that you could do. So that list is, when I only have like 5 minutes or 10 minutes today, because there's a 10-minute break, what can I do from my pleasure list? So that could be categorized in like, this is for half an hour, this is for an hour, this is for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And when you're just, oh, I haven't done anything today for myself, pleasure related, there's a 10
That's
minute
so
thing
cool.
window, I could do that. So reminding yourself of like, oh yeah. And you actually already get excited when you just read the list. You're like, oh yes.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Very, very cool. Can I ask what yours is at the moment?
What brings me like the products?
Yeah, what's your thing at the moment? Yeah.
This dress, for example, brings me a lot of pleasure at the moment because I just love that
Mm.
silky feeling. So that is something that brings me a lot of pleasure. That's why I've chosen it today, because I had something else on first. And I'm like, no, I want to have something really beautiful, pleasurable feeling on my body. So I chose that dress today, even though I had it on the podcast before. I thought, whatever.
Yeah. No, fabric. So I'm noticing more and more as I leaned into more pleasure how important fabrics are.
Yeah, and I've also got a sleeping mask that is out of that
Mm.
silky material. So, and I had
Mm.
like a half an hour nap today because I just needed it. And I had that one on today too. So I'm just like basking in silk
That.
today.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one last question that we usually ask at the end to explore a little bit more about pleasure. What would be one of your best top tips for the audience about pleasure?
Heal your shame,
Hmm.
whatever that means to you, but address that we have a lot of shame around being in pleasure. And be in spaces where it's normalized and okay and safe to be somebody who enjoys their life.
Yes, love that. Thank you so much for coming onto the
Thank you.
podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a really good conversation.
I would love to hear from you what has resonated the most with you from this episode. You can leave us a comment down below. And when you like this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show, give it a 5-star rating, and also share it along so we can spread more pleasure into this world. You can access my free workshop at pleasurelit.com/links. Sending you lots of love and pleasure. Mwah.